I'd like to tell you a ghost story, as a Roman Catholic exorcist told it to me. A certain Catholic priest was experiencing strange events in the parish rectory where he lived. Unexplained noises, objects being found in locations other than where they'd been left, and even the occasional sound of a human voice. A small team of priests, one of whom was the officially appointed exorcist for his diocese, went to investigate. While at the rectory, these priests heard knocking sounds that had no apparent natural cause. They established a system of communication with this apparent spirit, something along the lines of knock once for yes, twice for no, and the knocking sounds led the priests through the house to an office, where they found, shoved towards the back of a closet, a cardboard box. The team opened the box to find that it was full to the top with envelopes containing monetary donations from parishioners with requests to have masses said for the deceased family and friends of the parishioners. These envelopes were left from the time of the parish's former pastor, who had passed away. The fact that these envelopes' contents were never processed meant that the former pastor never said these requested masses. This was a very grave sin on his part, and the investigating priests knew that this was the cause of the rectory haunting. The deceased pastor's soul was not at rest. He was enduring purgatory for this sin, and God had allowed his spirit to communicate with the living to ask them to make things right on his behalf. The investigating priests and the current pastor divided up the mass requests among themselves. The donations were deposited into the parish's account, and the requested masses were finally said, along with masses for the soul of that former pastor. After this, the rectory never experienced any unearthly phenomena again. The former pastor's soul had been released to heaven. Welcome. I'm the Catholic Horror Gal, and this is Data Points. People have asked me in the past how I can be a Christian and believe in ghosts at the same time, and the answer is that the kind of Christian I am is a Catholic. The Catholic Church accepts the existence of ghosts, but in a very specific way. Ghosts are souls in purgatory whom God permits to appear to the living in order to ask for prayer. Purgatory is a state of undergoing a final purgation of the soul before it enters the direct presence of God in heaven. That's actually what heaven is. It's not a location in the sky. It's complete and eternal union with God. So it's much more a state of being than it is a place. Because nothing can exist in God's direct presence unless it is absolutely holy. A person who has not perfectly atoned for any sins committed during earthly life must make that atonement after death. This is a large part of God's mercy. He still allows another chance to atone for sin even when no longer in the physical body. But the Catholic faith is not the only one that has a tradition of atonement after death. In Rabbinic Judaism, Gehinnom was a place where souls underwent a period of atonement for sin, but could either be released into the world to come, consigned to eternal torment, or completely annihilated. Islam's Al-Araf is a place of temporary residence for the souls of those whose righteousness and wickedness were about evenly balanced during life, and who on God's merciful forgiveness will eventually be released to enter paradise. It's spiritually located either exactly between Jannah, or paradise, and Jahannam, or hell, or, like Dante's Limbo, at the topmost and therefore the least painful level of hell. And the Vedas, the sacred texts of Hinduism, speak of Naraka, the place of atonement for sin before a soul is reincarnated into another earthly existence. The Catholic faith holds that the prayers of the living can help purgatorial souls based on a passage in the Bible. In the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 12, the aftermath of a battle shows that those Jewish warriors who were slain had been wearing talismans of non-Israelite gods. The army's commander, Judah Maccabee, sent donations to the Jerusalem temple to have liturgical sacrifices offered for the souls of these idolatrous men, that their sin might be forgiven. If he was looking forward to the splendid reward that is laid up for those who fall asleep in godliness, it was a holy and pious thought. Therefore he made atonement for the dead, that they might be delivered from their sin. 2 Maccabees is not part of the Protestant Old Testament, and the Protestant denominations reject the existence of purgatory. But in Catholicism, the prayers of the living can move God to show mercy towards the souls in purgatory and release them into heaven. That is why God sometimes allows purgatorial souls to appear to the living as what we call ghosts, in order to ask for prayer. There are many stories just like the one at the beginning of this video of people seeing purgatorial souls, including the famous Pio of Pietrelcina, better known as Padre Pio. In fact, a church in Rome, Sacro Cuore del Suffragio, is host to the Museum of the Holy Souls in Purgatory, dedicated to displaying objects such as books, clothing, and even furniture marred by scorch marks in the shape of handprints, finger impressions, and in at least one case, a cross. Tradition holds that purgatory is a place of fiery torment as a soul's unatoned sins are burned away. But the Catholic Church has never issued an official declaration of doctrine on what purgatory is like. Dante's Purgatorio, the middle part of his epic The Divine Comedy, portrays purgatory as a place where souls endure a punishment that fits the sin, rather like the depiction of hell in Inferno, but with the added presence of angels and holy hymns as reminders that this is ultimately a place of hope, with the promise of eventual union with God. So this is the Catholic understanding of ghosts. They are actually purgatorial souls whom God has permitted to appear to the living in order to ask for prayers of mercy. So, if you see a ghost, don't scream, just pray. Thank you so much for joining me for this look at a lesser-known side of purgatory, and I hope to see you for the next episode of Data Points.